In 2001, George Harrison died, but before he left behind something more shocking than anyone could have expected. A box that included 2 cassette tapes from the night he was stabbed on December 30th, 1999. The following account is based on what may have happened, may have been recorded, remembered, and finally released into the world when the time was right. A dramatized A dramatized Olivia Harrison visiting George in the hospital, worried and whispering, "You said you leave something behind if it came to this." George looked over to his wife, Olivia Harrison, and said Paul would know what to do. Reenacted George recording the tapes. Talks about rubber sole and revolver, confuses dates due to medication, mentions the stabbing incident and feeling death was near. Olivia Harrison hiding the tapes for decades, fearing its impact and symbolism of death in their home. Flashbacks to... I'm not supposed to read that. Meeting Billy Shears. Paul's accident in late 1966. After that, Billy had his training, plastic surgery, and first public appearance. The Beatles were confronted by MI5. Dramatize the Maxwell warehouse scene after they'd released Clues in their recent album. Maxwell yelling, "You're putting Her Majesty in jeopardy." The Beatles bruised but terrified into silence. Part 3. Hidden in the music. Breakdown of the clues in the albums. Da-na-na-na-na. Magical Mystery Tour phone number leads to a funeral home. I'm a Walrus equals coded grief. Magical Mystery Tour. Excuse me. Strawberry Fields Forever. I buried Paul. Glass Onion. John Lennon's Mockery and Truth Behind Together. The White Album, 4 Mourning Photos. Paul is dead. Miss him, miss him, miss him. Revolution 9, Reverse Clues, Screams, Ambulances. John Lennon places images in the Yellow Submarine cover. Skeleton hand above Paul. Band pointing down, Burial. Man pointing up, Heaven. Symbolizing of blue sky / green sea, life above, death below. All Together and Northern Songs, subtitle, lyrical hints. Part 5, The Final Decision. Olivia Harrison deciding to give the tapes to Highway 9. Fear over... And I'm going to explain at the end the exact reason why it was Highway 9 and not somewhere else, and why it was 2005 instead of earlier or later. Fear over YouTube's rising power and how it could spread the story. Final message. He said, give it to someone when the time is right, and I knew it was time. Alrighty, we've gotten to the point where the video is getting ready to finish off, and now we're going to be doing the part where I say credits and epilogue. Show cassette. This John Lennon, both with his phone call, had also left weeks before his death a letter for George Harrison, and he chose George Harrison because Billy was Billy. He was Paul McCartney at that time, so you know. So he left behind a letter that said, for George Harrison and not Ringo Starr, because Ringo Starr, well, actually, he did write 2 letters, one to Ringo Starr and one to George Harrison. He hadn't given one to Billy Shears. So, this one didn't go out to Billy Shepherd. So, dear George Harrison, if you're reading this, then you were given this by my wife, Yoko Ono. The letter that you are reading is a written letter The letter that you are reading is written as a letter to remember I'm writing this so you can remember this information. This letter was written in November of 1980. This is so you remember the time Paul McCartney had died. I bet you remember the beating that Maxwell and other MI5 members gave us, but you probably don't remember the clues on the White Album. If someone sees the front of this letter or the back, they will know. So turn to the back to see the songs and the clues that we put into the songs from the White Album to Let It Be. Burn this letter after you read this and take a photograph of it, both the front and the back, and keep the photo with you. On the back, it showed the songs, and then under it said the clues on it. Ringo Starr also left a letter for him, which was, Dear George Harrison, if you're reading this, as the last remaining Beatle, I want you to remember all of our years together. Recently, as everyone knows, John Lennon was shot by a man by the name of Mark Chapman. It's so sad what happened to John Lennon, but I must write, Billy knows nothing. But what we told him. John Lennon sent me a letter in the mail where it gave clues from Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band to Abbey Road. Since we're the last 2 Beatles alive, I must write this down so I remember this. Like with John Lennon's letter. Read this and take a photo of the front and back and then burn the letter. The letter was very similar to John Lennon's letter, where it had a song and then the clues, and on the back it even said, it's now your responsibility, which made George Harrison think that he should say something before his death. You may be asking, well, why would, what was the question I had said? why would Olivia Harrison give Highway 9 this? Why was it Highway 9? It was more or less a random choice. George Harrison, before his death, told Olivia Harrison to give it to Highway 9 because it was a studio from the 1960s, which he knew. He knew if she sent it in from the United States that as long as she didn't get her fingers on it, that they couldn't track her down. He was still fearing, even close to death. So, why did Olivia Harrison really hold on to this? In The Paul McCartney Really Is Dead, the last testament of George Harrison was a tape that George Harrison gave to his wife, Olivia Harrison. She was told to hold on to it until the time was right. That time had come. Olivia Harrison figured that she had won a Grammy, and that the Grammy would overshadow this, but she also feared a little because of a recent but not little now social media called YouTube being founded. But she wanted to let go of the cassette tape because she didn't want more reminders of death around the house. In the movie, George Harrison didn't talk about this at all. And this is because he was dead by the time she gave the tape to Highway 9. George Harrison talked about Paul McCartney dying and okay, that's the conspiracy. Anyway, so that's today's video. I know it's a little bit different than normal. So, I want to thank everyone for watching this video. If you watch this video, thank you for doing that. And if you believe this conspiracy theory, thank you for believing it. If you don't believe this conspiracy theory, then that's your choice, and I'm not going to say, believe it now because it's true. I believe it personally because I just do. Because I looked at how, I'm going to use Strawberry Fields Forever as an example. I looked at, how Paul McCartney looked in 1965 and how he looked in 1967's Strawberry Fields Forever. And looking at it with only a 2-year difference. Not even 2 years, because it was filmed in early January of 1967, so it really wasn't 2 years. It was actually probably less, but it probably wasn't even close, So, I think that personally, I've looked at certain sources that say that the voice wasn't George Harrison. And I've been thinking, and there's 2 things I can say about it. It doesn't sound like George Harrison. But also, I can't see anyone holding a British accent for that long. I don't believe that's someone from the UK, because the conspiracy theory became popular in the United States and kind of just stayed in the United States. So I think it would have been an American, especially considering that Highway 9 is an American company. But if you don't think so, please voice your opinion. I think it would be very hard to just do a British accent for that long. and try and sound like George Harrison for that long. Even if you're British, it'd be that hard. Like, even the best impressionists, Dana Carvey, Robin Williams, they can't even do, like, Genie, Robin Williams' character, or Joe Biden, or George H.W. Bush. Like, Dana Carvey can't do that. And, you know, let's do a Beatles reference. Dana Carvey can't do Paul McCartney for so long. I bet he might be able to do a George Harrison impression, you know. So this video has been longer than I expected, so, you know, it has also been shorter than I expected. So, you know, I want to thank everyone for watching this video once again. So, thank you.